Hi everyone, I'm Ms. Nitya Siva, teaching Checkpoint Science for Secondary at St. John's International School. Today, we will be looking into how to tackle Secondary Checkpoint Science exam paper with the code 1113. First of all, let's look at the format of the exam paper. Cambridge Secondary Checkpoint Science paper consists of two components, Paper 1 and Paper 2. The code of exam for paper 1 is 111301 and the total time allocated for students to answer questions on this paper is 45 minutes. Students must answer all the questions on the question paper and they are allowed to use pen, pencil, preferably for diagrams, ruler and calculator. And looking at paper 2, the code of exam will be 111302 and the total time allocated is the same as paper 1, which is 45 minutes. Students are also required to answer all the questions on question paper and they are allowed to use pen, pencil, ruler and calculator for this paper as well. So now let's look at the instructions written on the first page of the exam paper. You may use an HB pencil for any diagrams, graphs or rough working. Please avoid using pen to draw any diagrams or graphs or to show any working. You should also need to show all your workings in the booklet itself. Remember, the number of marks for each question will be given in the bracket at the end of the question. And the total number of marks for each paper will be 50. The questions on this exam paper will be based on three main fields: biology, chemistry, and physics. Okay, so now we have learned all the informations about the exam paper. We will be looking into tackling the different types of exam questions of Cambridge Secondary Checkpoint Science paper. Both the paper 1 and paper 2 of Cambridge Secondary Checkpoint Science paper consist of structured question where you will be answering fill in the blanks questions, choosing the best answer from given words, arranging steps which is involved in the process, matching two different information, drawing diagrams, extracting information from the graph, extracting information from the diagram, short answer questions and long answer questions. I will go through the examples of all the type of questions stated on the screen. So here is one example of fill in the blanks question. So let's read the instruction given here. There are many different types of chemical reaction. Complete the sentences about types of reaction. Choose words from the list. So here there are 3 questions but 6 options given. So it is important for you guys to choose the 3 best answers from this given 6 options. This is another example of fill in the blanks question where we need to label the diagram. Okay, so we are not going to complete any sentences here, but we are going to label the diagram. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 options are given and you need to label 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 boxes, which means it is important for you to use all the words to fill in the boxes. So looking at another type of questions that will be asked in your checkpoint paper, choosing the best answer from given word. For example, here, please read the instructions carefully. In this question, they said circle the correct reaction, which is singular, and 1 mark is given. Therefore, they want you to choose one answer from the given options. You are required to circle one answer in order to gain the 1 mark. But look at this question. It is written there, circle two energy sources. Two energy sources. It's very important for you to underline the word here, two, because you need to choose two answers in order to gain 1 mark. Okay, so circle two energy sources from the list that cannot be replaced once they are used up. You need to choose two answers here. So always be careful with the instructions given. Read the instructions properly and underline the keywords, okay, on what you need to find, what answer you need to get. Okay, so it will be very helpful for you to not to make any careless mistake here. So we are looking at another type of checkpoint science exam paper questions, which is arranging steps involved in a process. So for this type of questions, they might ask us to arrange or rearrange the procedures of an experiment or steps involved in a process, for example, natural selection. And as you can see at the bottom of the question, the marks given for this question is 2 marks. So I would like to share one common question which is always asked by my students. Okay, they will ask me, Miss, why do I need to give them 5 answers just in order to gain 2 marks? Okay, so later on, I will be discussing on the marking scheme for checkpoint science paper. So we will look into it in detail later at the later part of the video. Okay. Okay, matching is one example, one type of question which is students' favorite because this is where they can score well. Okay, so let's look at the question. Okay, they said draw a line from each organ to its life process. So there are two set of information and you just need to match the informations in order to get 4 marks. So we have 4 boxes here which need to be matched to its life process. But as you can see here, we have more options given here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 options given for 4 questions or 4 informations, isn't it? So you have to be really careful, okay, to choose the best answer here. Okay. Okay, as you can see here, this is another example of matching question in which there are 2 set of informations given, but here the number of informations will be the same at both sides, which means each of the boxes in the left hand side, okay, will be connected to at least 1 in the right hand side. Looking at the next type of question, drawing diagram or complete a given diagram. Okay, so in order to answer this question, it is very important for you to use pencil in order to draw. Why? This is to avoid when you make a mistake, this is erasable. But if you use a pen, it is not erasable. And remember, earlier we have read through the instructions saying that no correction fluid can be used. Therefore, it's very, very, very important for you to remember to use pencil to draw, okay, on your exam papers. So here, they are asking you to complete the diagram, okay. And here is also another example of drawing diagram and completing the diagram where you need to draw the particle arrangement in a solid. Okay, so a box is given and make sure you draw the particles with correct arrangement, okay, in the box. Okay, looking into another type of question, which is extracting information from graph. So when we say extracting information, they might ask you to describe the pattern of the graph, or they might ask you to extract a data from the graph. And they can also ask you to predict a data from based on the graph. Okay, so for example here, as you can see, they say planet C is the Earth. So what are the names of planet A and B? And you need to choose based on the data given in the graph. Okay, so here they have given you the distance from the sun. So by using this data, you need to analyze and give them a proper answer, the best answer actually. So we have looked into extracting information from graph, and now we are looking into a question which involves extracting information from diagram. As you can see here, you see, the diagram shows a leaf insect called a mantis. Its body is bright green and it has two large eyes at the front of its head. A mantis is an insect. Explain two ways you can tell this from the diagram, which means here, in order to answer this question, you have to choose answers which are visible in the diagram, because you have to choose the answer which you can tell from the diagram, which is visible from the diagram, which you can observe, that fulfills the requirement of the question as well. So here is another example of question extracting information from diagram. You see, look at the diagram. This is the keyword here. The rabbit are able to detect the presence of predators such as foxes. Write down one way shown in the picture, something that you can observe. The answer is supposed to be something which is observable from the picture. Okay, so write down one way shown in the picture in which rabbits are good at detecting predators. So make sure it is something you can observe. Okay, so for this question, you don't have to worry much, because the moment they mention look at the diagram, you have to know the answer is hidden in the diagram. Okay, so we have to really pay attention to the diagram and extract the information from the diagram in order to answer the question. Last but not least, it will be short and long answers. Short answers will be like a yes, no, or one word answer. Okay, long answers will be, usually it will be like a explanation. They will ask you guys to describe. Okay, with 1 mark given or 2 marks given, they will ask you to explain your answer. Okay, this will be the long answers where you have to justify the answer given in previous question. Okay, students, so now we will look into the marking scheme of Cambridge Secondary Checkpoint Science paper. So I will give you guys few examples of question in which there are more than one answer is required, and a different amount of marks are given. So I will teach you guys how to provide answer in order to gain the complete full marks. So here's one example of the exam question for science subject. You see, it's stated that the giant panda lives in China. The diagram shows a simple food web involving the panda. Okay, so we have giant panda, and this food web, okay, is made up of two different food chain. For example, here the food chain starts with water plant, snail, fish, and giant panda. And here the bamboo plant, and then to giant panda. So now let's look at the sample questions. Okay, this is one short answer question. Okay, so because when we look at the question, it states that name one producer in the food web. Okay, so from the food web, they want us to name one producer. So when we look at this food web, okay, we have two producers as we have two food chains. So the first producer here is water plant, and the second producer here is bamboo plant. So you can give either the answer to get 1 mark. Okay, but let's look at the marking scheme. You see, even if you write plant or bamboo, they will still accept your answer. But I will strongly suggest to use the full name of the producer, okay, in order to avoid losing marks here. Okay. Okay, in this question, they said use the information in the food web to explain why the panda is described as an omnivore. So again, use the information in the food web. This will be the keyword for you to get the answer for this question. And when you say there's only 1 mark given for this question, so when we get back to the food web, as they told us to get the information from the food web, isn't it? So you see, giant panda is feeding on bamboo plant and also fish, which means the giant panda feeds on both plant and animals. So this means this is what shows that giant pandas are omnivores. But let's look at the marking scheme. So the marking scheme states that if you state the idea of eating both the animals and plants, okay, you will get the 1 mark. Okay. So let's look into question D, which is still based on the food web. So here they have stated, what do the arrows in the food web show? So the arrows in the food web shows the energy flow. Usually we will mention it's eaten by, bamboo plant is eaten by giant panda. No, this answer will not be accepted. So ignore what is what. Okay, the best answer here will be the energy flow. So this is question E, still based on the food web. Many of the bamboo forests in China are being cut down. This is causing the panda population to decrease. Suggest why. So based on the food web, we can say how giant panda is related to bamboo. Bamboo is one of its food source, isn't it? So when we look at the question, okay, so when they lose bamboo, that means they are losing food. So not enough food will be accepted as the answer. Or you can even state shelter or habitat, because the forest is being cleared. Okay, so they might lose their habitat as well. Okay, so we will still accept shelter and habitat, okay, or not loss of habitat as the answer. Okay, or even if you have written loss of homes or loss of nests will still be accepted. Okay, now I will show you guys one example of question in which you guys can use converse arguments. So I will also explain the questions in which you guys are not allowed to use converse arguments. Okay, so now let's look into this question. A student whistles 3 notes into a microphone connected to an oscilloscope. An oscilloscope shows the shape and size of a sound wave. Okay, let's look at how to answer this one particular question B, which states the diagram shows the waves for whistle 2 and whistle 3. So this is the wave formed for whistle 2 and for whistle 3. Compare the loudness and pitch of whistle 2 and whistle 3, which means in our answer we have to compare whether whistle 2 is more loud than whistle 3, or we have to compare about the pitchness. Okay, so now looking into the marking scheme. So when you describe, you can write whistle 2 is louder than whistle 3, or you can say whistle 3 is less louder than whistle 2. Okay, so this here they will accept the converse argument. Where you can put it in either way. But when for questions such as when you have to explain, for example, when we have to say, when the light intensity increases, the rate of photosynthesis increases. Okay, but we cannot use converse argument here. For example, we cannot say when the rate of photosynthesis increases, the light intensity increases, because it carries different meaning. So be careful on when to use converse argument, on when to not use converse arguments. Okay, this is another example of question. So in this question, they want you to draw a diagram. For example, the diagram shows the particle arrangement in a liquid. So they want you to draw the particle arrangement in a solid. As we can see, they've given us a box. It doesn't mean you have to completely fill the box, as long the diagram that you are drawing answers or fulfills the requirement of the answer. For example, here it says the diagram should show the regular arrangement of close packed particles. As long your diagram fulfills the criteria of the arrangement of particles in solid, your answer will be accepted. It doesn't mean that, you see, the regular arrangement does not need to fill the box. Okay, so you don't have to worry if you need to fill the box, because sometimes they're going to give you more space to draw, so you don't have to worry about fulfilling the whole box. Okay, here we go, another example of exam question. So as we get into the question and the marking scheme, you will understand why we need to learn this. For example, the question reads, Hamid makes a prediction about planets in the solar system, and there are some informations given which will help us to get the answers for the questions later. So now let's look at the question. So when we look at the question, see here, does the information in the table support prediction 1? So your answer here, as you read the question, you will understand that you need to give yes or no as your answer. But if you look at the overall question, there's only one mark given. So as it's written here, no mark given for yes or no answer. Okay, so then for the explanation, use the information from the table to explain your answer. Your explanation will be given 1 mark. But if you have just stated yes or no, and you decide not to answer the explanation, assuming that you might get 1 mark for this, is wrong. Okay, so no mark will be given for yes or no answer written here. So another example, okay, so in this question, as we can see, there's a diagram given and some information in the table. Okay, and I want to show you guys question B. Okay, in which they ask you to say other qualities can be used when selectively breeding chickens. Take 2 qualities that are most useful. So here you need to give 2 answers in order to get 2 marks, as they want only 2 qualities. You see, they have highlighted 2 qualities. What will happen if you give 1 mark? It's easy, you will only get 1 mark. But let's say if you have given 3, if you feel that there are 3 correct answers, okay, and you decided to choose 3 correct answers, so what will happen if 3 boxes ticked 2 correct equals to 1 mark? Okay, so for another, let's say out of 3 you have given 2 correct answer, you will still get only 1 mark. If 3 boxes ticked and only one of the answer is correct, what will happen? You will get 0 mark. Okay, if you tick more than 3 boxes, you will get 0 mark as well. So please be careful. If the question requires you 2 qualities or 2 answers, you have to give them only 2 answers in order to get the complete mark. But if you have answered more, you need to know that the marks will be deducted. So let's look at the last question. Okay, last example of question here. So as you can see here, this is the matching questions where you have to get 4 answers, right? You have to match 4 different boxes. But you look at the marks given, it's 2 marks, okay? Then how to get 2 marks, okay? Here, see, if you match all the 4 boxes correct, you're gonna get 2 marks. But if you only manage to match 2 or 3 boxes correct, okay, you will be rewarded 1 mark. But if it's only 1 correct, what will happen is you will get 0 marks. That means as you get 1 mark, 1 answer wrong, okay, there will be deduction of 1 mark. Okay, so please be careful when you answer, okay, and do not get confused and do not worry about why do I need to give 4 answers in order to get 2 marks. Okay, this is how checkpoint marking scheme works. Before I end the seminar, I would like to wish best of luck for all the candidates who will be sitting for secondary checkpoint exam paper this year. I really hope this seminar will help you guys to score your checkpoint science paper. Thank you.